Good evening, and thank you all for coming. I am John Lewis. I'm the police chief here in St. Louis Park. I am also the co-chair of Children First. As the night goes on, you will meet my partner and co-chair, Michael Jacobs, and you'll meet our coordinator of Children First, Karen Atkinson. You're really in for a treat tonight with Peter Vince, and I just want to thank you all for coming. It speaks a lot about what Children First is, like many things that matter at our hearts, that we show up. And that you show up is a powerful message, and I thank you for being here. A couple of things about Children First and me and the police department. I came to the police department and came to my job as police chief, carrying in my psyche and in my heart the idea that community policing made sense, and then nothing else made sense except community policing. I became the police chief, and it's an honor I've had for 10 years. I joined the Rotary Club, where I got to meet some really wonderful people who had a vision about what this should be and how this should go. And at first I had a little bit of cynicism. You know, police work can make you a little cynical. I thought, okay, it sounds like a think tank and some academic people and some ideas a little bit on paper, but does any of that really work? And I got to know the people. I got to hear about Children First. I got to learn about assets. And it's powerful, and it's common sense, and it is the right thing for us as a community to embrace. So my feeling is the police department fits naturally in to the many layers of what community policing is about. And that's really about serving kids and serving the community. The more time we spend working with kids, knowing kids, building assets in kids, the less time we spend chasing them around and trying to put them in jail. So you see the cops in St. Louis Park doing things that would be called unorthodox in many places. You'll see our cops out playing basketball in the parks that summer and doing things with kids in the playgrounds and helping them with homework after schools. And there are a lot of people in my profession that think that's so wholly outside their definition of what police work is. I learned and figured out and pieced together what Peter and the folks at Rory's vision was. It's exactly the right thing for the police to be doing. It's the best thing we can do with our time, is work with our kids and build those assets up. So I'm a very proud representative of the police department. I'm a very proud representative of Children First. I was listening to Jan Holmes, Carl's wife, talk tonight about things she felt was important. And I remember something I told my kids in sports when I volunteered to coach youth sports, and that was when you're talking about values and what matters in life. Say things in a way that tell people what you mean. I teach kids, if you're expressing a value to somebody, start out by saying, I believe. And I heard Jan say, I believe in Children First, and I want to echo that. I believe in Children First, and I'm really proud to be here. Now, a couple of things I need to do first before we move too far forward is thank some people. Many people helped to sponsor this event tonight and make it possible. I'd like to just acknowledge a few people. When I get all done, maybe we could just do one round of applause for everybody, if that'd be all right. First of all, we have a premier sponsor, and that's Jeff Solson, who is a great community partner of ours. As a city, they do so many things to make stuff happen in this community behind the scenes, and they never really seem to take credit for it. So I know Monica Murphy's here from Jeff Solson. AAA is here. Our good friend Rod Showcroft from AAA is here. I know he's here somewhere anyway. And there's Rod in the back. Harley and Verna Bourbon, I think, are still, are they? Where's Harley? Is he here?
They're on their way home.
They're on their way home. Harley is a wonderful man. He's been here since day one with Children First, and thank you so much to Harley. Citizen State Bank, great sponsor. I don't think Brad has gotten here yet, but I do think Brad Bachman is coming. Larson Allen CPAs, Jim Miller could not be here tonight, but they're an important sponsor. Karen and Fred Atkinson, Karen lives this every day and puts her heart and soul in this, on top of being a sponsor of it, so thank you. And then Park Nicollet Foundation, I know Mick Johnson and Bill Kenny are both there, I think, sitting together back there. St. Louis Park Schools Parent Academy helped us out with this. The Doubletree Hotel has been very good to us here, and of course you're in for a great treat, and you'll have a chance later to thank our speaker, Peter Benson. So with that, we give the sponsors all one round of applause. I appreciate that. Okay, and as is the custom in Children First, everyone has a story to tell, and I think the next person up, Michael Jacobs, who is our mayor's son, so he has many stories to tell. But the next person up to carry on will be Mike Jacobs. Mike?
All right, thanks, John. And thanks to all the sponsors out there, too. It's just great that we have so many people that care about, children, me. I am Michael Jacobs. I'm a senior at the St. Louis Park High School, and I am the co-chair of Children First. I'd like to say something about growing up in a Children First community for almost my entire life. I'm 17, so as long as I've known, it's been Children First. Growing up here, it has provided me with the best possible start toward the rest of my life. The lessons about hard work and respect and honesty and giving back will stay with me the rest of my life. St. Louis Park is a place where you get to live longer than your own life because of the impact you have on people 40 years younger than you are. Building assets in a nation's or a community's youth is about the transition of power from one generation to the next. So for the adults in the audience whose life has been about creating this kind of environment and building real bridges to the future, you should know that 40 years from now, those of us who grew up with the start you gave us will continue the work you started. I hope that is the highest compliment we can pay you. I'd like to turn it over to Karen Atkinson now.
Wow, I just love it. Every year or 2 years, we have new co-chairs. Actually, our young people usually serve 1 year. So Michael got up here after starting in July, and you've done a little bit of speaking, but this is your first real big event. And what's really cool is to see how each of our chairs, as they come into this role, really find their voice around it. I know they really believe it, but to see them stand up in front of people and talk about it is just awesome. I wanted to share with you a little bit about back then, 1993, and 15 years later now in 2008. Back then, in 1993, there were 30 developmental assets. When Peter and the crew over at Search Institute first worked on this body of research, they identified 30 things. But after they worked on it a little bit longer, they were able to determine there actually are 40 things. So before 2008, but certainly in 2008, we're working on developing 40 developmental assets. As Michael talked about, in 1993, we had infants in this community who right now, 15 years later, are sophomores in high school. So that's the difference when you look at young people. And I have a 14-year-old myself. I've worked for Children First for 14 years. So just to see the difference between what he looked like and now he's 6 feet tall, I can see the change very visually in my life of what's happened over 15 years. In 1993, St. Louis Park did the first survey. Search Institute has a survey called About Attitudes and Behaviors. Our students took it in the public schools. Some of the private schools have taken it too, but this first survey in 1993 on the 30 assets, and kids in St. Louis Park were below the national average. The last time our young people did the survey, and now this time it's the 40 asset survey, so it's not like you can totally compare them, but we were above the national average, our young people were. And in fact, working with Search Institute, we did a longitudinal study between 1997 and 2003, and that found those kids, which is virtually all the kids who took the survey all those years between 97 and 93, on average, had 2 more assets. So they had increased their asset level by 2 of the 40 assets, which doesn't really sound like a lot, but if you were to see this 156 question survey and what it asks about your family life, it asks about your neighbors, it asks about your school, it asks about your community. It really asks about your whole experience in St. Louis Park. And we had a researcher from Penn State, when he looked at the results, he said, this is remarkable. To be able to move the needle, to go up by 2 assets in a group of kids who have been in your community over this period of time without any special interventions. I mean, this is their life, is what they were reporting on. He found that to be remarkable. When Children First started, few people knew about it. In fact, it started in this room, in this hotel, in 1993. In 2005, the city did a community survey and asked about Children First, and 52% of the adults in our community knew about Children First. About 1/3 of our residents turn over every 5 years. So I think to have over half of our residents know about Children First is pretty remarkable. One thing about Children First is we have some pieces of attire that have gone along with the initiative. When I started with Children First, I walked in the first day and I got a Children First pin, and I know there's a number of them in the audience. Well, over time and as things developed, we've added some other attire. There's a gold blazer that has been worn by many people. Some of the young people in our community started a game show called Who Wants to Be an Asset Builder? And the host of it was Regina Philbin, and she wore a gold blazer. So we see that in the community. And then about a year and a half ago, we started this Asset Champion concept. And I remember very clearly when we were planning for the first meeting, one of the young people looked at me and said, I keep thinking about a superhero, a superhero. I think at this meeting we need someone in a red cape. We need a superhero. Well, now we have red capes in our lives in St. Louis Park. The first person to wear it was our mayor, if anyone was there in January of 2007. It was the best thing he ever did. He's been thanking me ever since and has worn it several times, as have other people. And the coloring books on your table show that we have a lot of superheroes in our community who either literally or figuratively are wearing the red cape. When Children First started, a really key component is that it was based in a partnership. And we have 5 founding partners of Children First: the business community, the city, education, health community, and faith community. And those 5 partners are still with us today. They have not wavered in their commitment to the young people in our community, but they've been joined by a whole cadre of people. And as of this date, we have trained 107 asset champions from all types of organizations in our community. So we have a variety of people out in the community promoting Children First. Now, I was a little nervous thinking about examples, because once I start giving examples, first of all, we could be here all night, and I know you don't want that, and you came to hear Peter Benson, but there's going to be someone I'll forget. But these are just examples, so keep that in mind. I just want to tell you the kinds of things that have happened in the past 15 years. In 1995, the Park Nicollet Foundation used the developmental assets as the basis for the community granting program. So if an organization outside of the Park Methodist wanted to get a grant from Park Nicollet Foundation, they had to describe how they build developmental assets when they applied for that grant. Between 2001 and 2008, $2.1 million has been given by Park Nicollet Foundation to this community. $2.1 million since 2001. The city has added youth positions on many of their boards, like the Park and Rec Commission and the Human Rights Council. And if any young people are interested in those positions, I know there's some openings right now, so you should contact City Hall about that. The faith community in 1993 and 94 developed a list of core values for our young people in the community. You know, uniquely positioned as a faith community, that's something that they were able to do. St. Louis Park High School started a 9th grade asset building program to help with that transition to high school. And when kids are in high school at St. Louis Park in 9th grade, they don't realize they're in the asset building program. It's just a transition program. It's just the way 9th grade is. We have a free clinic for kids in St. Louis Park. Central Clinic, housed at Central Community Center, is open 2.5 days a week. When they wanted to expand the pool into the recreation center, which almost everybody in St. Louis Park knows about, they use the core principles of Children First in developing that pool. And there's a plaque in the lobby. If you've never seen it, it's on the wall when you walk in. Look, and it boasts about that fact. And we had 2 parents who started the Day One Back to School celebration, which was held for the 11th time this year at the high school. So that kind of gives you a sense of what some of the partners have done. In 2007, we launched, as I told you, our Asset Champions Network. And this was a way to really penetrate asset building throughout the community, very intentionally, and a way to try to sustain it over time in the community. So we invited everybody we could think of, and if you're not part of it, I'm inviting you tonight to be the 108th trained asset champion. And what that means is you get trained on what the developmental assets are, what Children First is, learn a little bit about Search Institute, and then your role is to go back and train others. So we have asset champions, of course, at schools, we have them in congregations, we have them in senior programs, we have them in preschools. If you can think of a type of organization in the city, the police department, the fire department, Park and Rec, all different kinds of organizations. When I was out talking to people about it, I said, if your book club wants to have an asset champion, we will take that. We really want to get the word out. And then what asset champions do after they're educated on, they kind of take stock about, well, how are we already building assets? And let's be a little more intentional about it, because it's not like people aren't building assets already. They're just the good things that kids need in their lives. But then let's move it a little farther and be a little bit intentional about it. And as we're planning things or as we're having discussions, really think about how does asset building and how do our young people fit into that. As we've trained, I said 107 asset champions. Our youngest was 13 years old that's trained. He's older than that now. And our oldest is 80-something. So we have a broad range of people, young people, through adults. When we surveyed our asset champions, 90% of them said that they feel that their involvement has reinforced the feeling that they have about positive youth development. And I want to give you some examples of what an asset champion would do. Many of them have gone back and educated those either that they go to school with, they work with, they know through their volunteer opportunities that they're involved in. Others have written about asset building in newsletters or publications in their organizations. One of our asset champions, the Eating Disorders Institute, is conducting a study with their eating disorders patients to see how are eating disorders and asset linked. Are there some assets that patients tend not to have? Are there others that they do tend to have? And that will inform them about treatment. There is a couple asset champions who have done a support group for ADHD male students at the high school. A lot of asset champions participated in our 15th annual ice cream social. We do ice cream social every year. And one of our asset champions was on a book fair committee, a parent, and she said, I'm just going to be certain that people on the committee with me understand that reading for pleasure is an asset. So we really try to get people to understand it can be incorporated into what you're already doing. So we have the partners and we have the asset champions, and if you don't fall into either of those categories, there's still you. We have individuals who have adopted this philosophy and made it part of their life. We have people who say hi to kids and never pass a Kool-Aid stand. We have neighbors who have turned over their abandoned basketball hoop because their kids are grown to the kids in the neighborhood and say they love the sound of that ball bouncing. We have police officers, as John said, who play basketball with kids in the neighborhood park. And we have senior citizens who hold an extra key to the neighbor kid's house, so if they get locked out, the young person knows that they're able to get in. And if they don't want to get in, they know that there's a caring adult next door that they can talk to. We have high school students who go out of their way to welcome new students and to welcome students who are new to their clubs and into the school. And we have teachers who connect and learn something about their students beyond what they would know in the classroom, something about their lives. And we have a doctor in our community who, when she was treating a young boy and really looked in his eyes and saw the hurt, she realized he needed help and connected him to counseling. That happened at our central clinic. So in 1993, we knew that St. Louis Park was a special place, or at least the people who started Children First did. I started in 1994. But in 1998, the world understands that because for the third time we've been named one of the 100 best communities in America by America's Promise. And some people were at a celebration earlier this week, weren't we, Michael, about that. So in 1993, St. Louis Park was committed to working toward make this the very best community on the planet for our young people. And in 2008, 15 years later, we have not wavered from that commitment. The commitment is to strengthen this community for our kids. It's because of you, and it's because of people who aren't in this room. It's because people get this down to their toes, and it's because people in this community understand it's their calling. I want to thank you for being friends to the kids in our community.
Right now, we have a very special treat for you. Karen has compiled a slideshow of all of the, just the last 15 years of Children's First Day. It's a wonderful slideshow. It should be wonderful.